Hey friends, welcome back to another Seed Talk with Lisa and Layne. Hey Layne.
Hello, how are you liking the heat, Lisa?
Well, let me tell you, it is pushing our garden. It is amazing how that missing ingredient of a little bit of heat really affects things. And so we're loving it. But we were pretty hot this morning cutting flowers. So we'll see how I'm feeling, 2 weeks from now. But yeah, it's coming right along. It's growing some great stuff. All right, friends. So just remember that you can learn more about what Layne and I do in our day job over at thegardenersworkshop.com, where we have a fully stocked online garden shop full of seeds, tools, and supplies, online courses, lots of resources, just blogs, and you can connect with all that we do over there. So check out thegardenersworkshop.com, who sponsors this podcast. What's up for today, Layne?
So today we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people tend to underestimate how much they need of it. And I want to say you can't really have too much. So we're going to be talking about 3 favorite foliages to grow during the warm season, and we're going to give a little harvesting tip for each. So these are plants that we grow them as warm season tender annuals. Some of them might technically be perennials in warmer climates, but they're just something great to include in your summer garden so that you can fill up those bouquets.
Layne, what a great topic. So yesterday we were making bouquets, and I talk about this is the moment when you realize you can never have enough foliage. I was
Oh,
putting
yeah.
bupleurum in the bouquets, and it's like this is the day you know you will never have enough for the rest of your life because
Yeah.
it adds so much texture and beauty and everything to what you've got. So great topic. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Lisa, how much foliage did you grow in relation to flowers? I don't know if there's a percentage, an estimate you have in mind, but do you have any ideas on
Never
that?
enough. Never
Yeah.
enough. I don't even know when I was first starting out, and maybe even for the first 10 years, before we had so much information, I never even thought about foliage. I knew that I should grow basils as filler, to put in my bouquets, but I'd never thought about the rest of that. And so, but I would say that 25% at a minimum would be a good foliage filler. And then there are some flowers that can be used as filler before they bloom. So it gets really deep.
True. So we are going to be starting out with one of my absolute favorites, and it's basil. Of course, this is fragrant. A lot of people use it as a culinary herb. It's just beautiful foliage. There are different flower and leaf colors to choose from. And this is something that for people that aren't even into growing flowers, I would still say to grow basil because a big bunch of this just sitting on your kitchen table, it just has an effortless sort of elegance to it, and it just smells so great and looks so beautiful. Why do you love basil, Lisa?
And it'll impress your friends when they
It
come over.
will.
I mean, the people, when I see people grabbing those little boxes of herbs in the grocery store that are the saddest looking $5 they want for it, I mean, it's like it's so simple. So, basil, undoubtedly, Miss Burns lemon basil is our customer's number one choice for filler and foliage in their bouquets. Even when I mean, we grow a ton of basil. Even when we would run out, we'd have a huge rush on our members only market. And mid morning, Suzanne will text me and say, "Hey, we're out of lemon basil. Couldn't you go cut me some more?" And cutting it that late in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, oftentimes it would wilt. I'd say it's too late. She'll text back and say, so and so is standing here and she said she doesn't care if it wilts. She wants the fragrance in her bouquet. People love because it smells just like you just cut a lemon.
It does.
And it's a light color. That's the other reason that I love Miss Burns. It's bright green. The stem is green, so it really brightens up your bouquets. But all of the basils, because we grow, I think, 4 or 5 or 6, I'm not sure how many different ones this year. They all have different characteristics that are good for their season, but Miss Burns lemon is for every season.
So that one is beautiful. Like you said, bright green leaves, green stems, white flowers. Cinnamon basil still has green leaves, but it has darker stems, purple flowers. The bracts are a dark purple, and then the little blooms are a sort of lavender color. And for people wondering, yes, the cinnamon basil does smell like cinnamon. And I'll tell you, we grow a lot of basil because it's just one of my favorites. And sometimes I don't even bother to label the lemon versus the cinnamon. And just by rubbing the leaves of the seedlings, I can instantly tell which tray has the lemon and which tray has the cinnamon.
You know, I actually shot a video this last winter. We started a bunch of lemon basil for seedling images. And I shot a little video that said, you know, you should just grow lemon basil all winter long as seedlings for your peace of mind. I mean, to rub it and to experience that smell was awesome. I agree.
Yeah. And then two other varieties I just wanted to mention are Cardinal, which also has darker stems, and then it has these humongous purple red flowers. And then Purple Ruffles has this beautiful dark purple foliage with a ruffly edge on it.
Yeah, and we are growing both of those, and those are great for fall. It's just nice to have a little, you know, just to plug in a piece of each one of those in a fall bouquet really changes it up.
Lisa, do you have any tips for people harvesting basil? This is one that a lot of people complain about having wilting issues after harvesting.
Sure. So the number one reason when I talk to people about their struggle is they are cutting too late in the day. This is one of the crops. This is the first place I go for summer. I mean, when we were doing, gosh, so many mixed bouquets, I would go to the basil patch, you know, at 6 a.m. first thing. And as soon as a bucket was full, somebody would carry it inside because my garden's out in full sun. And those are all those things matter. So time of day. And then the second thing is they don't strip enough. You only, I mean, look at how much of the stem is actually revealed when you put it in a bouquet. It's typically just the top 3 or 4 inches of foliage. So we strip everything below about 4 or 5 inches on that stem, and that just lightens the load on the tiny openings at the bottom of that stem that are sucking up water. And then thirdly is it's too immature. So we wait until the flower head has started to develop, you know what I mean? And I like cutting it when the flower spike, which all except for cardinal has a spike, when the spike is only like an inch or two tall, you know, it's just starting. That is just really the perfect stage.
And if you are having issues with basil wilting, don't put it in the cooler and think that that's going to help. You will not be happy with the results.
Correct. I mean, basil will sustain damage below 55 degrees. So that's why you would never plant it early in the garden when night times are still cool, because it'll just not be happy and have brown spots quickly.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to move on to something that is very fragrant. It has a really sophisticated look to it, lots of different forms of leaves and sizes of leaves, and lots of different colors from silvery green to more bluish green. And of course, I'm talking about eucalyptus. Why is eucalyptus such a great foliage to include in your garden or on your farm, Lisa?
My goodness, it is an in demand for all those reasons. The color that you just mentioned, the color variations, the leaf shape, and then the fragrance seals the deal. I mean, we absolutely love eucalyptus, and we love all the varieties, some more than others, but we love those that we aren't our favorites too. You know, I mean, it's just a really, really useful foliage. It can be a standalone, you know, it could be in a vase by itself, but people love it when you add that to mixed bouquets. And of course, you can sell a ton to florists.
And you can dry whatever you don't sell also.
Yes. And, you know, in our experimenting with drying, we have never been able to not have the tip of every stem shrivel. So you just cut that off is what we do.
Yeah.
But it dries great otherwise.
So, Lisa, what are some harvesting tips for people with eucalyptus? Because again, this is one, if they harvest it when it's a little immature, they might struggle to hydrate it and it might be a little droopy.
Sure. So yeah, I like to wait until the leaves that are near the end of the tip of the stem start to really take on that feeling of the leatheriness. And that's when we start cutting them. When they get long enough to be useful, and they aren't real fleshy on the tip, that's the stage to harvest for us. And we have really good luck with that. And it may vary a little bit from variety to variety, but in general, that has, you know, helped us well.
What time of year is that for you? And it might vary depending on if you've overwintered them or planted them that same year, but in general.
Sure. So if we get them in the ground in very early spring or in spring, it's typically late summer and fall. The longer you leave them, the more branching, the more stems you get, and the more length you get. So we kind of save our eucalyptus to kind of like be our fall special splash. That's when they start coming. And the images you just put up, parvula gum and polyanthemus, are two of my absolute favorites because they're different. Nobody even, until they smell them, they don't even really recognize them. And they are not quite as fragrant as the other varieties, which is good for us.
And we do have an entire episode on eucalyptus with Dave Dowling, and that's episode 29 if you want to go back and listen to that.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move on to our third and final pick for foliage, and it's Hibiscus Mahogany Splendor. This has such beautiful cranberry, mahogany red sort of foliage. It almost looks like a Japanese maple, you might think, if you just look at it, and it just adds so much color to an arrangement. So what do you have to say about hibiscus?
So what I've learned about hibiscus is it's incredibly productive. You'll get, 20 plus stems off of one plant. And so you don't need to plant a lot of it. And we typically plant it, it's in our successions. But for harvesting to sell or to use in bouquets, we would typically start it in June to plant to have it be a late summer fall crop because of its color. It's just not a real in-demand color earlier in the year. And this is definitely one you have to strip pretty hard, but it is incredibly useful as foliage and as a bouquet filler.
And if you're struggling to get Mahogany Splendor to really develop that color, you may have it situated in a little too much shade.
Yeah, ours grow out in full blasting sun.
So what are some cues that the foliage is ready to harvest?
When the tip is really developed is when probably the best advice I can give to people that are starting out and don't know what stage to cut something in, you need to cut one and take it in your house and watch it. And this is one that you may need to do that, but I wait until the tip is pretty filled out. And they're long stems too, so they're really a great one.
They are. And like you mentioned, they're just so beautiful for those late summer and fall bouquets when you really want that reddish color.
This with sunflowers and purple majesty millet or limelight millet is just a smashing, incredible fall bouquet.
Okay, well, that does it for this episode on 3 warm season foliage favorites. Please feel free to share your favorites over in the comment section on YouTube or using the form linked in the show notes. I'm sure everyone would love to hear as many foliage ideas as possible, and we always love hearing what you're growing.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for joining us again. Please be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and also be sure to share it with a friend if you are enjoying Seed Talk. And just thank you so much again for being here with us.
And friends, remember that over on our YouTube channel, Layne makes a beautiful slideshow to go along with this podcast. And today's was no different. It had some beautiful images. So check us out on YouTube. Thanks, friends, for joining us. Until we meet again. Bye, Layne.
Bye.